Here's where things get really interesting. I then had the exact same prompt, but I added with the words about algorithmic bias. So the prompt to both Bard and ChatGPT was, write me a lesson that teaches an elementary student how to create a short scratch.mit.edu story about algorithmic bias. Here's what Bard said, quote, I'm unable to help, as I am only a language model and don't have the ability to process and understand that, end quote. That's it. Nothing else is provided other than that single sentence. ChatGPT, on the other hand, provided basically a very similar lesson plan as was previously written without the words about algorithmic bias, but it included some comments in here like, quote, show examples of algorithmic bias in real-life scenarios, such as biased facial recognition systems or gender-biased job application algorithms, end quote. That is actually like two really good examples that are often discussed in computer science. So this was nice that ChatGPT was actually able to include that, whereas Bard was not able to do that or was unwilling to do that, which is fascinating because I then took that exact same sentence and added in a little bit more after that original sentence, and we get, write me a lesson plan that teaches an elementary student how to create a short scratch.mit.edu story about algorithmic bias. That's all the same. While encouraging students to incorporate their own interests, needs, desires, etc. in the story. Suddenly, with that addition in there, Bard was actually able to create a lesson plan. And so it, again, populates out the lesson plan specifically about algorithmic bias, and it adds in stuff like, quote, encourage them to think about their own interests, needs, and desires when coming up with ideas. Some possible story ideas include a story about a student who is denied a loan because of their race or gender, a story about a job applicant who is not hired because of their age or disability, a story about a person who is targeted by online advertising because of their political beliefs, end quote. So Bard was actually able to do it, but not when it only focused on algorithmic bias, but when I said, hey, focus on algorithmic bias, but allow students to express themselves, basically, through the project. So that was really weird. I don't know why that was the response to it. And then ChatGPT also was able to do this, and so it included some like more forms of algorithmic bias, while also encouraging students to be able to kind of express themselves and explore their own interest in the project itself. This excerpt of the CSK8 podcast is from episode 191, which is titled The Future of Education According to AI. You can listen to the full episode as well as hundreds more by simply searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app or by going to jaredoleary.com.